On this episode, we're going to be talking about how you get lined up for league. What signs are you looking for from game to game transition? What tricks can you do to get a lead on that transition? And how do you warm up and get loose to get started? All that and more on Let's Talk Bowling. Good evening, folks. This is Let's Talk Bowling with your hosts, Go Time and Coach Geek. We are representatives of Stream Bowling and also USBC Level 1 coaches. How are y'all doing today? Today, we're not going to have any guests. It's just going to be us discussing some things that we do while we're on the lanes. We figure we try to make it more of a coaching focus going forward. We won't stop the interviews. Don't get that twisted. We will have more people coming on the show. But
sure.
No, we will be doing some different things in the next few days. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have another show. Hopefully, I get some more people as far as a board. But no, Geek, how has your month been like so far?
My month has been pretty good. The last couple weeks, I consider it a struggle the last couple sets, but otherwise, my month has been good. I got back to my right hand, and it's been all guns blazing. So I couldn't be happier. It's been a good month for me.
You're killing it. Me, I'm just there because I'm back at home working from home, and it's like I'm getting to practice more. So a lot of the things I used to do, they're starting to come back bit by bit by bit. And it's like, oh wait, I used to do this.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I used to do that. Oh, I didn't do this. It's like, oh okay, but my scores are there. I'm steady on the 600, so I'm not complaining about that. I like staying in the sixes, but how I'm shooting, how I'm starting off, I should be in the sevens almost every single week. I'm always having one game where I have 5, 6, 7 in a row, or two. This past week I had 2 5-baggers. And I finished off with the back 7 in the first game. And so I am having some equipment issues though that I want to get addressed because you only can do so much when your equipment is not doing everything you want it to do. I do have a few new pieces coming. I
know you said you retired too.
Yes, I retired the Conspiracy, which I don't know if I'm fully retiring it. I think that ball works better with polish other than sanded, because every time I throw that ball sanded, what confuses me about the ball is it hooks a lot. It is strong, but when it gets to the pins, it hits like a wuss. It just like the pins slap it around. It don't slap the pins around. It's like it gets to the pins, and I will leave a 10 pin steadily if I don't put like a full 450 rev rate on it. Like I really have to really get into it in order for it to drive through the pins. I mean, I've shot 9-tap 300 with the ball with like the first front 7 strikes, but then ever since then, since I made a few changes to my game, it does not finish. I get into the pocket easy, but then it's like, what's that game? Whack-a-mole. The pins are playing whack-a-mole with the ball because it's literally back and forth. It's like do, and then 10 pins standing up. I'm like, you know what? Yeah. No, the other ball is the Power Torque, which I loved the ball when I first got it. I think the layout is wrong, but at this point in time, I'm not fooling around with re-drilling, going back, redo it. It's like this is going to different takes. So I have another solid symmetric coming. But Patrick is going to send me his Blaze, his Dynamite Blaze, which is a solid. So after our last interview last week with Hogan, I've kind of had that swag spark rekindle because I really do like stuff that will allow me to play straighter because that caters to my strength as far as the amount of rev rate that I put into the ball. It should work out. So I'm going to give it another hoorah and see where it goes from there. But other than that, I've been pretty steady.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I know you were talking about getting back to your full rev rate, which I highly suggest. I don't like having to adjust how you are comfortable throwing the ball. Like, if you're comfortable with that amount of revs, I feel like you should stick with it.
Well, the trick is I am comfortable with it, but I'm more accurate when I do less.
U.S.
and it's easier to adjust when the ball is not hooking off the dang on lane. Like there's a huge difference. I mean, I have a practice video and I watched. There's a completely different look. I rather the smoother look. Like if I can get the smoother look with the hot full rev rate, I'm gonna do it all day because
Yeah,
I only get that with like longer patterns or heavier oil patterns. But these medium oil patterns, it literally just when it gets to the spot, it's left.
yeah,
And I miss that reaction, but then it's like when I have to make my adjustments, how far do I move? And then
sure,
me by myself, if I use my full rev rate, I will literally destroy a pattern by myself. So
right,
it's like I'll have that shot for like 5 or 6 frames, added in, other people bowling. The shot is gone. Now I'm in a completely different spot. And then once I get to the
yeah,
point where I got to get super left with the equipment that I have, I'm not going to carry. So it's like it's good to know how to do different things. You know, I see it as an adjustment. I see it as a tool, not as the full thing that I need to do all the time.
yeah.
Even though it's like
Okay.
looking at it, it's like, shoot, I might as well just do it. But I haven't been able to do it because one, my bowling
Yeah,
ball's rolling over the thumb, which if that happens, it kills the
that's not good
backhand.
for anybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it kills the backing on the
that's
ball no matter how much I put on it. That happened to me Tuesday night. I actually hit up on it on the Scorpion low flare, and it went. I'm like, oh shoot! I already knew before it got halfway down the lane, it was not going to turn up, and sure enough, it just barely turned and left me the 1, 2, 4, 7, no 1, 2, 4, 6, 10 because it just
yeah.
it just
Well,
barely turned. It didn't do anything.
over the thumb is never going to be good in any situation. That's for sure. I think I got to show off my 400 rev rate though. I saw you watching on Tuesday. I think I impressed you just a little bit with able to being able to bend it a little more.
Oh no, you definitely impressed me. I was like, oh look at him, he got some hand in the ball. He got
I
some
got
hand.
I got up to 400 revs. So
Hey, 400 is nothing wrong with it. I mean, as a
I'll take
bowler
it.
with a 490, 500 plus rev rate, I would definitely tone down like I have just so I can stay in play. Because unless I'm on sport or heavy oil, I always did have a struggle with breaking down the pattern. But now that I understand it more, it should be okay for me to put my full rev rate in. So I mean, I didn't do bad Tuesday doing it. No, but it's just my equipment now is like, okay, I got to find stuff that really does work with what I'm trying to do. No, because that's
Yeah.
always it's either been me or it's been my equipment. So now I'm thinking it's leaning more back to the equipment. I need better, newer equipment, which I do have new pieces coming. So hopefully
Yeah.
that fixes the issues.
I don't know. Sometimes they say newer is better, but I've seen some old pieces that still work really well.
Well, they need to be drilled right. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like if they're not drilled right, or you don't have the right surface, it's like just a paperweight. I had my PSO put drillings on bowling balls that I knew hooked that made no sense. He put a 3.5 inch drilling on a Scandal Pearl that I had a couple years ago. From what I've seen, that ball had a huge back end. When I had it with my rev rate, it barely moved. I'm
Hmm.
like, there's no way this ball should be like a urethane ball. It only worked on shorter oil patterns. If I had it on anything, it would not move. And it's like, so
Yeah,
the
that's
lesson is
odd.
your PSO got to know what they're doing.
Yeah,
They got to know what they're
that's
doing.
yeah, I think we've talked about the importance of the PSO before, and once you find the guy that's drilling your stuff right, it feels good off your hand, it's doing what it's supposed to do. I think I told you before I would drive an hour to go see the same guy as long as I could get there.
Yeah, I'm seriously considering like I'm between. I like having multiple, so I don't have to always go somewhere. But I like to have them kind of communicate, so I don't have a problem driving to New Orleans and going to Jusane, looking at
Yeah,
how he's shooting and what he's doing. Yeah, he's doing something right. So I have no
yep,
problem going to him. And then the guy that's on the base, Craig Gavin, he's the driller there, a PSO there. And they've been running the pro shop there for a while, and he knows what he's doing. He's a high ref rate player, not two hander, but no one hander like me.
sure.
So he kind of understands the
What you're
nuances that I'm
doing.
talking about and what I'm going through with what I need. So it's like I can go to him, but then if I want something special, I can go to him. It's like I like having multiple. No, I don't believe in full loyalty to one. No, because everybody has their own points of view. But if they both know what they're doing, it shouldn't matter. I
Sure.
should be able to walk in and say, hey, this is what I want. This is what I need. You have my specs, and then they go ahead and drill it. You know,
Yeah.
or one might know something, I know a trick. Hey, no, you know that thing that I like you to do with the ball. Go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Put that layout on it.
You know that thing that makes it strike a lot?
Yeah, like put that layout on it right there. Which
Yeah,
I think
right.
I found my new favorite layout with the ball that I got from Peyton. So I'm going to just get a thumb put in the next two balls that I get from him and just throw them. No, I shot 700 with the
There you
ball
go.
that he gave me, and I just threw it with putting a thumb in it. So I think I'm gonna stick on that same train and go with what he's doing. But let's get
Well,
to our topic of
lot
discussion.
of, yeah, I was gonna say a lot of what we were just talking about goes right into what we were doing, just watching that lane transition and how to stay consistent through a 3 game set on just regular league night.
Yeah, yeah. So, but we're going to start off with it's getting lined up for league is definitely is the topic that we're talking about today. And the first question, which we have, is for both of us, is during warm up. How do you get loose yet still look at your ball motion and break point to determine what you would be starting for game one? I think I'm gonna let you start off on that one because mine is a little
Uh,
long. I have a longer process. I'm not sure what your process is. My process is a little different.
I as the older I get, the longer it takes me to loosen up, and it seems like I keep winding up in 5 man leagues, so I'm not getting a whole lot of shots in. Um,
Mhm.
and the couple things I look for is if I have some miss room outside, I'll make sure I get a ball way outside and see how it reacts. I know on a house shot, generally you've got some miss room inside because it's going to hold, but you never know what kind of miss room you're going to have to that outside edge and how far down the lane. So I'll purposely get the ball, outside of 5 and just see what kind of reaction it'll get. The problem is if I don't get enough time to loosen up, I might not be getting my full hand in it, might not be getting a full speed in it. So then, it just depends on how long I get to warm up. But I'm really gonna start looking for miss room. Can I get the ball outside and miss outside, and is it gonna recover for me?
So let me ask you this. This is a trick question. Not trick, but it's a funny question. Are you a one shot per ball per practice person, or are you a two shot per ball in practice per ball? Like, do you take two or do
Um,
you take one?
it depends. Like in tournaments, it's always one ball. It goes quicker that way. I wish more people would do it. In most of the leagues I'm in, though, it's all lower, mid-range bowlers, so that everybody's taking 2 shots. Sometimes if I leave something in the middle of the lane and I know it's, not worth trying to pick up, I'm going to let somebody else get a couple more shots in. So I'll still do the one, but I'm a bigger fan of 1 shot per, just to keep
Hmm.
that pace going and get more shots in for everybody.
Yeah, I totally agree. I wish more leagues did that. I just wanted to throw that in there because, as you said, not getting many shots in, especially being on a 5 man team, getting warmed up is definitely important. You know,
Yeah.
we don't have a place where we can just throw the ball down the carpet or something and get loose that way. We have to literally, get lined up and get loose and read the lanes at the same time. And if you
Yeah.
don't get enough information, because this is basically what you're gathering is information. If you don't get enough, it's like you go into the game like, deer eyed, like, okay.
Yeah. I just did it this last week. I started, I didn't get loosened up all the way. I started with the wrong ball. It probably took me 4 or 5 frames to figure out, what happened, got into the right ball and finished strong. But I mean, that was the exact scenario. I just didn't get enough time with some warm up, got into the game, and like I just got looser and I got stronger. And all of a sudden the ball was coming off the edge more than I expected because that's not what it did during warm up.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So for me, I do a number of things. It depends on if I know the alley well enough, then I don't do certain things. But if it's a house that I've never been in, or if it's a league where I don't know the shot is going to be consistent, the first thing I do is I do kind of a double thing. If the first ball I throw straight down 5. And this is what I got from reading Jason Balmonte's book. It's about bowling. I can't remember what it's called. But no, he does this during tournaments. So I get into a habit because I have to get loose to throw the ball and throw it down the lane. But I'm also reading where, like you said, you like to get it outside of 5. So I'm just throwing it straight down five. And that first couple of bowling through those shots, my arm is hurting. Like it's literally hurting.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
think I have a pulled muscle. I shouldn't be bowling, but I'm still bowling. It is what it is. No bowlers, we'll go through anything just to keep bowling. No, but that first shot is to get loose, but it's also just to see what is the ball going to do from outside five. And then I'm intently watching the ball as it gets there to that point, skid, hook, roll, and then all of a sudden, like the biggest thing is where is it hooking from? Because I've learned of a thing called the box, which, excuse me, is between boards 10 and 5, or really 9.5 and 4. That this area on the lane, no matter what pattern you're on, the ball will come back and hook. You just have to get it to that spot based off of where you're standing. So, depending on what the ball does, that's where I move. So, if it takes off again, okay. I already know most of my shots from outside five are going to take off and go Brooklyn. Very rare is going to set and hook into the pocket and strike. If it does, it's like, oh, hold on, this is going to be a really good day if I can stay this far right. And then I repeat it on the other lane, and I just take one shot because I'm a good spare shooter. I don't know my percentage, but I know that if I were to pick up every single spare except for maybe some hard splits, I'm going to pick most of my single spins and multiple pin spares. So I don't worry about picking up the 10 pin, picking up the 7 pin, all that stuff because I'm just that good at picking up my spares. So I'm more focused on finding the shot and seeing what shape I need. So once I get on the other side, do the same thing. Once we get to about 5 minutes, then I'm starting to line my feet up. Like, where do I need to get which ball is working? I go through at least 3 balls. No, I always start with my benchmark, which is probably a symmetric, or a pin down asymmetric, or a pin up solid asymmetric, and just go from there. And whichever one gives me the look that I want and see, that's what I go with. That's how I get lined up. Sometimes, but depending on how many shots you get in, sometimes it's a guess. Sometimes it's just a guess. It's like I did this on Tuesday. Conspiracy I was throwing, figured it would carry. It wasn't. No, through my brutal collision, it wasn't broken down enough for it. So I was like, shoot. And that was literally the ball I threw up until 30 seconds left. So I just went and grabbed my power torque and said, let me just see. Threw the ball, struck, and it moved in the way I liked. So from there, went with that ball, shot 235 the first game. Yeah. So I just happened to make a lucky guess and say, okay, this shape works for what I was trying to do.
Yeah, I've got a pretty set regimen to how I start. I always start off with a solid just because I don't have that. I don't have to worry about a pearl generally, so I go with my favorites are a pin down symmetric and a pin up asym, and between those two, I'll usually decide which one I want from there. And again, if I don't get enough shots in, then this last week I went with the pin down, and it was just coming up too early, and I had to get down the lane farther. So, but that goes into kind of how you get through game one, though. Sometimes you make a good guess, sometimes you make a bad guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's bowling on our level is about gathering information and making your adjustments so that you can score. The one that does it fastest is the person who's going to score the highest. That's just how it works. Even the pros, when they know they make a good shot and the ball doesn't read a certain way or doesn't go, they're quick to pick that ball up and put it in a bag and grab something else. Because especially if, let's say they did strike, but the way they struck was like a late 10. They're probably back in their bag looking, okay, that one was a late 10. I hit my mark. I did everything right. I got a late 10. It's probably time for me to go to something else. And us, we're trying to get to that level, but a lot of us on this level just tend to think, oh, moving is going to work. Up until a few years ago, I learned that the further left I get, my carry goes down if I don't have the proper ball. So you're searching for what ball can I go into that's going to give me the carry.
Yeah. I had like I said, this last week was a kind of an eye-opener for me, especially on Tuesday night. And a little bit later in our questions, I had that exact problem, and I tried to get through the ball the ball I was in, I tried to stay in it just a little bit too long, and it wound up costing me a little bit. And it just comes down to seeing those little keys as you're going through it. And I saw it. I really did see it, and I turned around, but I struck, and I asked the guy that I bowl with that is a really good bowler too, and he's like, well, you did strike, and I was like, yeah, but man, that didn't look right. So those ball motions, I had somebody tell me once, you can fix a lot of things, but bad ball motion isn't one you can fix. It's time to get out of that ball.
Yeah. And we just had a comment from Queen Jackson. Says the best thing is learning your equipment. Yes, make moves, but understanding it may be the ball. Believe what you see. I say that a lot. Is trust your eyes. Especially if you know you threw a really good shot. Trust what you see. The lanes are telling you. The problem with that though is a lot of people don't understand what they're seeing. A lot of people to this day still read the lanes left to right. They don't read or right to left. They don't read the lanes front to back. And it's like learning how to read the lanes front to back will help you get out of a lot more situations and make a lot better ball choices than reading left to right. Because most of the ball is going to go left to right or right to left, because you're putting spin on it. It's going to do that. It's when it's doing it is the problem. And a lot of people don't understand what they're seeing when they're out there looking at it. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, the ball did that. And when I used to coach in New Orleans with DJ Smooth and Larry and the squad that he came up with, the first thing I would ask him is, what did you see? Mm-hmm. What did you see? Tell me what you saw. Because if you understand what you saw, then you know what to do. And a lot of them at first wouldn't know what they just said, oh, this happened. Do you know why that happened? Is the follow-up question. Yeah. Oh, well, like getting that understanding of those things you see so that your brain can probably process it. And then it's like, oh, okay, that's why that happened. J4 says, no, they go back and forward. Yeah, you're right. It does go back and forward. Matter of fact, it goes in all directions. It goes forward, back, left, right. Sometimes it goes up and down, depending on the person.
Yeah. Well, and that's, that brings me into the next part of our deal too, is understanding, we talked about it before, understanding one, your team, and two, the team you're playing against. Because that front and back, if you walk up there and certain players are playing a certain style, they're going to move the oil in a certain pattern. They're gonna change things differently than if everybody's throwing the same line. You can kind of read off if everybody's in the same spot. You can kind of just migrate and stay in the oil or move out of it. But as soon as you start doing one of these numbers and you've got one line going this way and one line going this way, it starts to change all of those things. And then left to right, right to left doesn't help because it's going to push stuff down lane differently than what you expect.
Yeah. Important tip I got from the legend Parker Bone III, and I will not ever forget it, was as I asked him, how do you adjust for the next game? Which is leading up to our next question, like when there's triggers or things you're watching, how do you line up for the next game? How do you anticipate? Because a lot of these bowlers, pro bowlers, anticipate the shot. And he said, well, think about it. It's all numbers. It's all numbers. If you have, let's just say, a 4-man team, if you're the anchor bowler, because I told him what my average was, and he was like, really, that's all? I was like at like a 210. He was like, really? And he was watching the way I threw the ball. I threw 299 in front of him. And he was like, you're a lot better than what you say, but okay. But he broke it down as like, if you have 4 people on a team, if you're anchor bowler, if everybody on that pair is right-handed, because you're right-handed, you got to look at the fact that how many balls and went down the lane in that 10th frame. No, you go to the first person. Let's say the first person on your stream strikes out. Boom, boom, boom. That's 3. Then you can't just count this lane that you're finishing on. You got to count the other one because you're switching.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's say that person goes spare strike. Okay, that's still 3 balls. Okay. They're in the same different spots. Okay, then your next bowler, he goes 9 spare strike. That's 2 balls. And he's like, by the time it gets to you, over 10 balls have been thrown almost. No, especially if you're like on a 5-man team, almost 10 balls have been thrown. So the shot is going to change some by the time you get to that next game. And then when you count, you can't just count that, because then if you're anchor, they have to go again on that same lane. So by the time it gets to you, it's probably going to change. So what he says, I'll just give myself a little room and test it out to see what it does. If I strike, I strike. I don't. It's like it's not about the strike. No, it's about gathering the information that I need
Yeah.
so that I can make the proper adjustment. Is it too soon for me to move? Is it
Yeah.
too no? Is it too late, or do I need to move more? Like you have to test those boundaries to see what you can get so that you can set yourself up for the next game.
Yeah.
So I thought that was
I
a
put
really
down
important
on
tip that
there.
he gave me.
Yeah, I put down on there, especially in the 10th frame, using that fill ball. If you feel like things are changing, that's the time to check it. Whether you throw a strike or a spare, once you get to those bonus, if you feel like the pattern is changing, that's the perfect time to test something like that out. And can I get away with this? Can I change this ball? Can I grab, should I go from solid to pearl?
Mhm.
All of those things. That fill ball every single game can lead you into the next game on the right path.
Yes, it can. You definitely have to. And we're going to go on to C. Are we on C now? It's like what things in the late game are.
We kind of talked about C and late game two. I mean, that's where I had my fill ball.
Yeah.
As you get into later of game two, I think it's very important, and that's why that was on there. Even the D part, starting to plan ahead for game three. What
Yeah.
kind of transitions am I going to see, and again, what kind of people are on the lane with me? Are they throwing straight? Are they throwing power? Are they down and ins? Are they hooking the lane? Are they throwing urethane by now? Or were they throwing urethane? And all those things start to go into your head to get into game three with a game plan, not just going in, blind.
Yeah. Information is the key. You got to get this information, folks, to
Yeah.
in order for you to get better. We have Chaz who just made a comment says that seems to be my biggest struggle right now is game two. It is. No, and especially if you're in a house that's unfamiliar. Happened to me this past Tuesday. I went 235, 153, 241. So that of course that 153 is like, what the hell happened? The whole bunch of things that I didn't catch. I
Yeah.
struck out the back seven in the first game, going into the second game, then the shot just changed. I saw I was hitting light and I made an adjustment to kind of hit a little bit heavier. Then the ball took off. And then I got into a bad cliff to where it was over and under. I moved left, the ball wasn't coming up. I moved right, the ball wasn't blending and it was taking off. And it literally took me to the seventh frame to figure it out. By that time, I had
Yeah.
thrown three splits. I had missed one easy spare. And it was like, shoot, I done killed my whole series. No, Aaron,
Yeah.
you're welcome. You're welcome, Aaron. I literally handed it to you.
Yeah.
It took
In
you,
one
it took you
game.
6 months to beat me again, but okay.
Uh,
You're welcome.
yeah. Yeah.
But definitely, it's you have to catch those transitions. No, when I went to the Scorpion Low Flare, that was an even better look. But then going into game three, I was like, okay, it's still oily. It's hooking in a certain spot. Okay, let me go to my brutal collision. I know I went to that. It's a strong ball, but it's pinned down and it's got polish. It should blend out perfectly. Went the front five third game. So it's like,
Yeah.
and should end up finishing with 241. So those signs, people, we got to pick up on. You gotta really pay attention. Had I questioned myself earlier, like, okay, this ball is not doing what I want it to do. It's over and under. What should I go to? Oh, hey, let's read front to back. If I go right and it checks up, the contrary to popular belief, asymmetrics are smoother than symmetrical balls when it comes to the read. No, they just pop more on back, but they will blend out that mid lane read so that it's not just instant. A lot of us
Yeah.
get caught in that instant hook, and it's like, okay, because symmetricals they read harder on the back end, so it's like that's what was happening to me. It was reading so hard off the spot, and then I literally went to the brutal collision, stood in the same spot, and it blended it out perfectly. So I was like,
Yep.
no. Now I know that ball is cemented in my bag as a not a it's a ball down from my
Mhm.
solid or something stronger or something pin up. So these things you gotta really pay attention to
Yeah.
the signs because they're there.
And yeah, and you got to trust yourself too. Once you start learning those things, like that's what I did to myself this last week, is I didn't trust what I saw with my eyes, and sometimes you see things and then you think, well, I did strike, and then maybe I threw a second strike, but you know darn well that that ball's not reading properly, and you shouldn't be in it. Sometimes you know, if you think it, somebody told me, if you think it, you should probably test it and see if you were right, because 99% of the time when you see it and it's in your head and you start thinking it and you start questioning that ball motion, you're probably due for a change.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the difference between us and the pros is they're quicker at making that decision. They'll
Yep,
see that. They'll see it's like, I didn't like that motion.
that's it. Yep.
It's something else
Yeah.
because they didn't like that motion. No, and they call it saving frames. I'd rather save frames and test something out than
Yeah.
stay in this and try to make it work and then lose 7 frames. And then now I'm behind the field 30, 40 pins. And in the
Yeah.
field as tough as the pros, that's hard to make up, especially on a
Yep.
sport shot. Maybe
Yeah.
on house shot, but even on house shot for them, that's even worse. If you think
Yeah.
about it, you giving a pro 40, 50 sticks on house shot.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Pay your money
Um,
because you about to donate.
yeah. Yeah. And like I said, they trust what they see a lot more readily than we do. Sometimes we
Yeah.
try to force that motion. And again, the one thing you can't fix is bad ball motion. It doesn't matter what you do with it. It's not going to do what you want it to do.
True, true, true. So where are we at on our list of things we're going over?
We're kind of down, starting into the end of D. You know, working on. We've already kind of been talking about it through game 2, setting yourself up for game 3, or a lot of people just wait for that transition and they just take it as it comes, which I think is a huge mistake, because if you don't know what you're up against, you're just asking for problems. And then as we get into the E part here, late game 2, early game 3, what kind of things can you see with your ball motion that tells you some of those things? Is the lane burnt up, or did you wind up with a cliff? What are you seeing your ball do? Like this last week, I saw my ball check up at 30 feet. I thought I was on a scorpion pattern, and that told me that everything was burnt up because I couldn't even get to the outside. Or you running to the outside and then your ball is just falling off and it's not finishing? I think you were talking about that earlier. You get the ball outside where you would expect for it to come off the edge, but based on who you've been bowling with, they've inverted that pattern, and now it's cliffed and you've got all the oil up the edge.
Yeah, I mean, for me, to go into game 2 to game 3, I'm always looking for it to either, like you said, break down or carry down. No,
Yeah.
it was one of the two. No, depending on, like you said, who's bowling with you. And I always make it a point to pay attention to look at what are they bowling with. This past Tuesday, the guy was throwing a very old storm ball, which looked like it hadn't been cleaned in over a decade. So that means all the pores in the ball was clogged up. So it was pushing oil. Then he was no thumb. He was hooking the ball over my line, not once, but twice, because he'll stand far left, throw it out this way, and it crossed the first part of my line here, and then it'll hook and then cross the back part of where my break point is right before and go Brooklyn. And even his buddy was like, that's not the ball. You need to change balls. But he kept doing it. So
Yeah.
eventually, and that's what really kind of messed up game 2, was because we didn't think of that. No, and especially me, I didn't think that was going to mess up my shot, because I'm thinking, it's going to be all right. No, because it literally created a point where my ball, from where I was standing, the symmetric wasn't, it was reading as soon as it got to 15 feet. It didn't even get past the third arrow. It was like, it was starting to hook there. And then caught the well down lane, so then it bled out, and then it just jumped and went through the nose. It was like, okay, like this is just a weird reaction.
Yeah, the proverbial multiple motions. You see one thing and then it does something else and then it finishes in a different way. When you start seeing your ball do 2 or 3 different things down the lane, you got problems.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. I shot 153. I was like, I can't do nothing. No, so folks, just learn your motions. Trust your judgment. No, if you don't know, ask somebody. Hey, what did that ball just do? What did you see? No, that's one thing I love to have teammates who are all on the same level. What did you see when I threw that ball? And they'll tell you, like, well, it did this and did this and did this. It's like, okay, well, did I hit my mark? Well, what were you aiming at? Oh, this is what I was aiming at. Well, you hit your mark, but then when it got, okay, this information is good because now it's like you can come up with a game plan of what you either need to adjust or change.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's how we make better scores.
I saw Mary Beth jumped in here. I know she's a college bowler, and then I hang out with Emily quite a bit. One of the things that college teams are so good at is that communication among each other. What did you see? I saw this. Did you see the same thing? And then you put those two clues together, and usually you make a good decision. The more a team communicates and understands each other as well and how they bowl, the better off you're going to be as a team. So.
Oh yeah. No, teams, when you were building teams, which we will have a challenge when it comes to building teams, so be tuned. But when it comes to building teams, you got to pick people that are like-minded or open to receive information.
Yeah.
I can't stand being on a team with a person who gets defeated or quits. Like, that's a big no-no for me. That's one of the reasons why I'm not bowling on Tuesdays at Cypress is I don't like quitters. I don't like losing the people that we should beat because we've beat them before. I don't like when it's just a give up mentality. Oh, I'm doing bad. To hell with you doing bad. Grind. It's time to grind. When you're doing bad, it's time to grind. Get them spares. If we're striking, we're going to hold you up, but get them spares. Them pins count. So many times I've been on teams with bowlers who, when you try to tell them something, they don't want to receive it. But then at the same time, they're struggling, and then you just give up. It's like, why am I on this team? And you wonder why we're in this spot on this list of 20-something teams. You change your mentality. But
and
no,
that comment's perfect going into our last deal here. When you hit game 3 and you are completely confused, like it happens occasionally where you just never figure it out. You didn't see the reads. You didn't pick up the clues. What's something you do, Dwight, if you do get completely confused by game 3 and you really don't know what happened? What are some things that you do to salvage your series?
So I go back to the beginning. I go back to where I started. Even though I know that I moved from there for a reason, there's a chance that with everything that's happened with all the bowlers that's bowling, it could be back. Or maybe it was something that I missed. Maybe it was a ball change. Maybe it was something much simpler that I just overanalyzed and moved myself off that spot. And to be honest, a lot of times that's what it was. A lot of times I move off a spot too early because of something that I saw. And then by the time I come back to it in game 3, the shot is there. It happened to me this Tuesday. It was just as simple as a ball change.
Yeah.
It was a ball change to something smoother and stronger in the mid lane, and I would have had a better series.
Yeah, and that's where I go. Is I go to something smoother and smoother in motion that I can trust to just control the pocket with. I don't want anything that's going to be too wicked down lane. I don't want anything that's going to be jumping off the spot. So I'll always, if I'm completely lost, I'm going to find the ball that I trust, which for me is a proof solid. That I know that I can just kind of manage the pocket and leave myself makeable spares. You're going to get some strikes in there, but the worst thing you can do, in my opinion, in game 3 is to overanalyze, like you said, maybe go back to the beginning. But if you're just completely lost, don't lose the pocket, and then you're going to wind up throwing a bunch of splits. So I always go to something I trust just to be smooth, just to be controllable right into the pocket. If I leave some 10 pins, I'm going to pick up the 10 pins. If I leave some other pins, maybe I'm a little heavy and I'm leaving some 4s, you just pick up the 4s and you salvage your series that way. You don't do what you were just talking about and just quit. I give up, I'm out, I'm not going to listen to you, I'm not going to, try, I'm just going to, you just have to grind through it.
Bro, and trust me, that's exactly why I quit on the leagues that I was. It was just give up. They're like, I'm paying my money to bowl with you for us to win so that we can get some money back. Like, you hurt my pockets right now by just because if that's the case, let me just and pick up my shit and walk out. because
Yeah.
that's how I feel at this point. Because you're not going to sit there and just give up when if I'm struggling, I'm not giving up. I'm
No.
going to find a way to get. If I can't get 650, I'm going to find a way to get 620. If I can't get 620,
Exactly.
I'm going to find a way to break even. And if I can't
Yep.
break even, I'm going to find a way to make it at least over 575. I'm going to find a way. I'm not going to give up.
Yeah.
And it's just that, you got to find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
And like you said, you go to something smooth. Me, I go, like I said, it doesn't really matter what ball I throw. No, what really matters is where am I standing? No,
Mhm.
I can make any ball hook. No, that's no problem. No, I can make them hook with the best one. I dare say I can make a hook with EJ Tackett because that's just how much hand I can put in the ball. But
Yeah.
it's not hooking is the problem. It's getting to read and finish right.
Mhm.
And I'll find something, and then eventually, that's why I said lately I think I'm just having an equipment problem. No, you
Yeah.
just don't have the right thing in your bag, and that's the case. Like you said, save pace, get to the pocket.
Yeah.
Just get
Find
to
the
the pocket.
pocket. Yeah. Even if it's not perfect in the pocket, leave yourself makeable spares.
Yeah,
I've tried to tell people that in tournaments. League is a little different. It's only 3 games and whatnot, but I've watched so many people in tournaments with tougher patterns. And all you have to do when you're lost is just try to control the pocket a little bit. Try to stay close. Leave yourself makeable spares. Continue to make those spares as you make small adjustments. Eventually, you're going to find the pocket again, and you're going to get some strikes. But if you go out and you leave yourself a bunch of nasty splits and a couple 2-3 opens,
you're done.
you're
You're
done.
done.
So
And that's what kills your game is not leaving yourself makeable spares, especially on tournament conditions, sports shots. No,
yeah,
I will argue with anybody on a sports shot. You got to control the pocket and you got to have a controllable ball reaction. There's no reason why you should be doing anything extra as far as making it slower or making it super fast or doing. It should feel natural on the sports shot, and you need the ball to read. That's
yeah,
that's the secret to sports shots is you need the ball to read the pattern. Having something shiny or throwing urethane is not the answer to just solving sports shots. It is not the answer. Trust your eyes, build your knowledge of
yeah,
what you see so that you can make proper adjustments so that one, you're not putting yourself in a bad spot or the people that's bowling with you because that's another part too is I don't like it on teams where you have that one person that does stuff that makes no sense and screws up everybody else because they're having a bad day. I'm gonna throw your thing. Why?
just because I'm
Like,
mad, because I'm
like,
upset about something.
yeah, I'm not gonna name names. That happened on the last team I was on to a couple years ago. I'm gonna throw your thing for what? Oh, because nothing else is working. But I'm striking, and he's striking. Just make your spares. Why would you mess up the shot for everybody? And he did it anyway. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? I can't deal with this. So it happens. It's like you have to find your team, and I think I have that team now with me, Roger, Matt, and Peyton. We're all constantly talking and chattering back and forth, feeding information back and forth. I even told
Yeah.
Peyton like he was well, I'm a much better bowler. I said, bro, between us through four, I know what you're capable of. Trust me, dude. You don't won one of our challenges before, shot 7-8. You can bowl with the best of them. I just need you to hold your spot and just keep your average where it's at. That's it.
Yeah.
He was like, and then when I hit the Thanos fingers, then it's like, okay, come out swinging because now we need you. Because at the end of the day, we got to play strategy too. We have to play strategy too. What's up, boxed up? Because handicap is not making it any easier. People want it out of 230, 240, but only 3 people average that high. So it's like
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that go into it that you got to
Yeah.
do, that you got to really calculate, with
Yeah.
our teams, with the way we bowl. But as far as adjusting, like I said, I go back to the basics. Or if you can't find nothing, like you said, keep it to the pocket. If you have to
Keep
throw
it
it
close.
straight at the pocket and just hit light all the time, at least most of the time, you're going to leave it 8.
Yeah.
And
And
then
keep your head and make the spare after you control the pocket. Like don't
yeah,
don't just the worst thing you can do is be like, well, I left an 8 pin, and then you're upset that you left the 8 pin and you missed it.
Yeah, no, that everything you're saying, trust me, I've encountered, I've seen, and it's like I'm
Yeah,
triggered. I'm triggered. This
yeah,
is like I've seen it, and
yeah,
it's like the effort for the spare is just out the window. Oh, I don't care. I left the A pin,
yeah.
and that's a spare. Now we have an open in the ninth frame because you just missed the spare, and all we needed was you to spare. And then when they got the nerve to strike out, after just missing the spare. You know what? If we had an extra 20 pans, guess what? We won.
That's right.
We'd have won. But no, you wanna give up. You're like, I can't stand giving up, which is why I can't wait to be able to come out there and bowl with you or bowl with anybody in part of stream because we're not gonna give up.
No,
And we're not gonna let each other give up. We're gonna try to build each other up.
absolutely. I think we're about done. That pretty much covered about everything I had on our guide here. Just some shout outs if you got some things you want to shout out. I know I'm going to talk about the challenge and some of that Let's Talk Bowling mugs and stuff, but what do you got? We haven't gotten to shout out for a while.
I do get the shout out. Hold on. It's I gotta get the card. Give me a second. It's Len Eldeshay. If you're in here or not, I don't know. It is called Lachey's Printing. I like to shout her out because she did my jerseys pretty quickly as far as putting the logo on them. And it looks really good. Looks really good on. Looks like it actually came from the factory like that. So it's like I like to shout her out because that was kind of a rush job to have it for us for Tuesday. And also thank you for being my co-host, host,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call yourself. You help push stream a lot. And just the bowling community who decides to chime in and hey, listen to what two old guys got to say. I tease that you're old, but I'm showing a lot more gray than you because you be shaving down.
But I got you by a few years, but not too many.
And Boxed Up says he wants me to shout him out too. I'm not sure why, but he feels like I should shout him out, so I'm gonna shout you out. Hey, you
right. I got Derek just subscribed. I'm going to shout Derek out. I don't think he's still in here. But guys, if you can subscribe to me or Dwight, I know that both of us are putting everything we can into this. Dwight would attest to what I'm doing. I've spent a whole bunch of my own money on this stuff too, just trying to get everything going. So, a subscription to mine, a subscription to Dwight's. Mine's set at $3 a month. Maybe a subscription to the stream channel. We've got our own stuff going. And we are going to start building some capital so that we can keep providing some cool stuff. V2 Creations, I believe. I'll post. If you guys have seen these, they're ball cups, custom made, stream logo on it. Some really cool 3D printing that she's doing for us. We've been working on some stuff like this. Josh Justice's mom, Sandy Morris. We've got stuff like that coming.
Yeah, shout out to Big Josh J. Big Josh J. Bowl.
Yeah.
Go follow him.
That's right. And then, tomorrow morning, I believe, right, Dwight? Tomorrow morning, we're going to have our first coffee morning with Stream. Let's Talk Bowling tomorrow morning. Yeah, we've got coffee mugs coming. We've got tumblers coming. Guys, all of the stuff, anything we make on this, we're putting back into the community and back into the stream page to try to make sure that you guys are getting some cool stuff and that our content continues to grow so that we can keep providing you guys with some fun information and some fun challenges. Maybe even being able to put out some prizes to some of these free challenges we do. So,
yeah. And also, I just want to put this out there. Y'all see that ball cleaner application form. So, RevTech Pro is coming, y'all. It's coming. It's my own development, my own design, and it's from what I'm telling from my testers. And you're going to get yours tomorrow. So you get to try it out tomorrow. It's a cleaner that's worth looking into. I already got to send the papers in and then wait for them to test it out. That's where I'm at with it. So look out for RevTech Pro. That's going to be a cleaner that is made by me for the bowling community. And I already have a website and everything, but I have not launched it yet because I'm waiting on that stamp to just put on my logo and it says USB-C approved. But I can tell you this, you can buy some if you hit me up. It is legal to use because it is made out of stuff that you can use before and after league play. It's just that it is not USB approved, BC approved for during competition. So if you're interested, please hit me up. I will be able to send you a bottle. Little 2.7 ounce. It's $10. Just if you want to try it, let me know. I'll send you some, and we'll get all the deets rolled out and squared away. But that's our day for today.
Keep following, guys. Keep supporting Stream. We've got a lot of fun things coming. We're not just here, spinning our wheels. Between the two of us right here, the ideas are flowing and the things are coming. So appreciate everybody.
Oh, and I forgot the knockout challenge. We will have a knockout challenge, but the details will come later. I got to go over it with this guy here. But that's all I got. This is Go Time. All I got. Signing off. Got Coach Geek, the man out in Colorado, doing it big.
Appreciate you all.
This is Let's Talk Bowling. We are signing off. We catch you on the flip side. Deuces.
Later.